Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Okay, we're back. Well, all of us have been watching with great interest the story in the news concerning Brittany Maynard, the 29-year-old newlywed in the Portland area who developed brain cancer, has announced that she would take advantage of the doctor-assisted suicide law in the state of Oregon and terminate her own life coming up November 1st. Well, what does all this mean? What's really going on here, and how do we respond to such a thing? Karl Benzio is with us. He's a MD, and he's been with us before. Dr. Benzio is a psychiatrist and executive director and founder of Lighthouse Network. By the way, you can go to lighthousenetwork.org. That's their website. Nice to see you again, Karl. By the way, what is Lighthouse for those hearing about it the first time?
Lighthouse Network is a nonprofit ministry, and what we do is help people that are struggling with addictions and behavioral health issues, really how to navigate the crazy system, provide hope and compassion to them, then encourage them and navigate the system for them so that they can find a Christian treatment option that fits their clinical situation and fits their resourcing, their insurance, and all those complicated, verbiage when you call in your insurance company and don't know what they're saying or put on hold. We do all that service for you. Then we develop a lot of other resources, devotionals and radio programs and things to equip people to move forward in life.
Great. Thank you for your work. All right, back to Brittany Maynard. First of all, has it been postponed or is it still scheduled for November 1st?
I think she is, has a change of heart a little bit and sees some hope in life and wants to continue on, at least last I heard a day or two ago.
Okay. How do we respond to this? I mean, we're trying to wrap our mind around somebody that would be willing to end their own life that seems to be fairly cognitive and rational at the moment.
Yeah, physician-assisted suicide is dangerous to physicians and to society. It's a public health concern, but obviously it's deadly and final for the patient. And so this is an issue. There's physician-assisted suicide where the physician gives you a prescription so that you can go home and take it on your own, which is different than euthanasia, where the physician actually administers the injection. So ideally, when a person is struggling and coming towards, they get a very difficult diagnosis, and certainly in Brittany Maynard's case, our love and prayers and compassion go out to her and her family as they're dealing with this, significant adversity. But, suffering is part of life. Life is about trials and tribulations and navigating them well, both in life and in death. And death isn't the end point. It's just a transition to eternity. And so when somebody has a diagnosis or has a fatal illness, there's still a lot of life to live, and there's still a lot of compassion to come alongside that person. So suicide is something where a person decides to end their life. They don't need a physician to be part of that process. That really undermines the doctor-physician relationship and the impact that has on our healthcare system and many others that might seek care or that are struggling in life.
If you had a chance to sit down with her, what would you say?
I'd say, certainly sad about her illness and her situation and, and her struggle. And there's going to be more struggles, and it will probably get more difficult for her. But there's a peace, there's a comfort. Our system, our people, our society want to come alongside her. And I think she's seen that, in the blog site and in the information she's put out after her interviews, that people have come alongside and have really expressed a tremendous amount of love and compassion for her. And there's an opportunity for her in this process to experience life in a much grander and powerful way, and to not limit that by ending it prematurely. There's answers for her suffering, both physically, psychologically, but especially spiritually. And God's peace and comfort, will come alongside her through people and spiritually to engage her and help get through the struggle and adversity.
I think often we Christians just don't know how to respond to somebody who's terminal and or maybe suffering with chronic pain where there doesn't seem to be an instant response to prayer for delivery. How could you help us with that? How do we not get discouraged ourselves?
Yeah, we are quite an entitled people. We expect, everything to go our way and for us to not have pain or suffering. But after Genesis 3, there is pain and suffering. We're in a fallen world. We're in fallen bodies. We're decaying and we're dying from the beginning. So usually this physician-assisted suicide issue is more people struggling with fear or lack of control. They're fearing loss of bodily function or, bodily function or some difficulties in life, and they want to end it and escape it. And so, as Christians, to be able to look at suffering as part of life, we have the saying, no pain, no gain, but that's really how we learn. That's how we draw closer to Him. That's how we see what true holiness and true purity really is. And we allow God to engage with us as He's seen us through our spiritual pain of disconnection with Him. He's going to see us through the psychological fear and discomfort and uncertainty, as well as the physical pain and discomfort that we're going to experience whenever we have the many various illnesses that afflict the human condition.
Dr. Benzio, when this whole issue came up in the state of Oregon for doctor-assisted suicide, I was really involved in the campaign against it. And when it passed, I was front page news across the state, and I just, it saddens me to think that we can't put more value on life. But how bad has this become? Because I still hear stories where people are doing this, but some of the physicians really don't have to report it. Can you clarify how bad that may be in the state of Oregon?
Yeah, well, I can't speak specifically for Oregon, but it is a difficult process. There's 5 states that allow it now, and there's a number of countries in Europe that also allow it. And, everybody just like you, we're significantly concerned with, how do you implement something like this? Usually when, as a psychiatrist, and somebody comes to me with suicidal thoughts, we're there to protect them. We're there to put them in a facility that allows them some safety and supervision so they don't hurt themselves, not make it easier for somebody to hurt themselves. And so with Oregon and many other places, there's usually just a 15-day waiting period for a person to come in and then for them to get their lethal dose of medications. 15 days is so short. Many of these illnesses, especially depression that people come in with, are curable even. So it's not really just a terminal illness. It wasn't just for pain, like many of the people initially said, well, people are going to have terrible pain and they need help with that terrible pain. Well, only about 15% of people are really coming for pain, and it's usually more fear of what pain is to come, not actual pain they're experiencing. So the reporting of it, the documentation of it, the implementation of it, this is sort of morphed into euthanasia in Europe, where the physician can actually give the injection. And in 20% of 1 out of 5 children up to the age of 1 are able to be euthanized when they meet certain protocols in Belgium. And 1 out of 5 didn't even have parental consent for those infants to be euthanized. So how do you enforce something like this?
Yeah.
We're finding, once the genie's out of the bottle, you just can't put it back in. This has an incredible slippery slope.
Boy, that is so well said. Being the professional you are, suicide has been considered somewhat the silent killer because a lot of people don't pick up the signs. Now, you would with your professional background, and so often it happens to people that you just don't expect they would go that far. What are indicators from your perspective? What are you looking for if you're looking for this?
Yeah, suicide actually is the second leading cause of death in the United States. So if you include the actual suicides that are reported, but then the non-reported because they were seemingly an accidental overdose or a motor vehicle accident, or the passive suicides where somebody just loses their will to live and they stop taking their heart meds, that's listed as a heart attack, not as a suicide. So if you listed all those, it's actually the second leading cause of death in the United States. So obviously depression is a significant indicator. Past suicide attempt, family history of suicide, people that have impulsive behavior, people that have a significant sense of hopelessness, and people that have that don't have a faith or a spiritual background and spiritual elements of resiliency that are important in navigating the adversities of life. So those are some indicators that we look for. Usually whenever I see a person who is suicidal and they want to end their life, I say, well, that's good that you want to end life as it was, but there's many options to live life differently. Let's take a look at what those options can be, and see how we can walk in those and equip you to lead life in that way. And unfortunately, if people had the option to end the pain and live or end the pain and die, they would choose end the pain and live. But most of those people have tried some certain things, usually without coaching or without guidance, and they didn't work. So now they see death as that final option to end their pain. But there's many other ways that the Bible tells us about that. The Bible is a great textbook about pain. And so there's many teachings about how to manage the pain and God's peace with us when we're in pain.
Is a person in their right mind who commits suicide?
I don't think so. I think that whenever we have those significant emotions distort our ability to see things clearly. So, in court, we try to remove emotion from the court because we want to see the details clearly. So we don't pick a judge or a jury that's the mother or father of the defendant or victim. We don't let doctors operate on their own kids because we'd be too emotionally involved. So when somebody is depressed, they're anxious, they're fearful, they get a diagnosis of cancer, and a lot of emotions are running through their head and interfering with their ability to see life and what their options are and what their equipping is, who God is in that process. It's going to distort their options and their view of their options. So, feeling suicidal, I think to me that's a clear indicator that their understanding and their competence to manage things is significantly compromised.
How do you handle Christians that do it?
Christians that engage with physician-assisted suicide?
Yeah.
Well, as a Christian committing suicide, I don't believe they lose their salvation. I believe they're still going to heaven. But, I think God has a plan for us. And until he takes us from here, for us to assert, our will on him,
right,
or to, assume that we're sovereign and we define, what's good for us and what's not. I think that's not worshiping God and not being obedient and loving him and the calling that we have. I think as long as we're here, he has impact for us to have, whether it's our spouse, whether it's our kids, whether it's society, those that watch us. Whenever we're struggling, people want to see what really is stronger in your life, your own will or God's. Who's the Lord of your life, you or God? And whenever we as Christians manage adversity well and look to God in the face of that adversity, like David and Goliath, or Daniel in the lion's den, we show God's immense power and shine God's glory to the world that's seeking and looking for these kind of things, for compassion, for love, and for how to navigate all the daily storms of life.
Well, Dr. Benzio, you're a delight and an inspiration. Thank you. And I want to encourage our viewers and listeners, check out his ministry, lighthousenetwork.org. It's a tremendous resource. lighthousenetwork.org. Dr. Karl Benzio, thank you, my friend. Stay in touch, okay? Good to see you again.
Hey, thank you, Perry. Always great to be with you.
All right, God bless you. All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.